again to our Marriage Lockdown Corner. It's me, Dr. T.I., the co-host of this program. As I've already indicated last time, we said we are very excited about this whole thing. So I hope you enjoyed our first clip, and right now we are going to take it further.
Hi, I'm Professor TD, a co-host of this program, Marriage Lockdown Corner. When you talk about marriage, just like life, this institution is one of those that goes through difficult times. It's like a paradox, a bag of so many mixed emotions. Sometimes you do get contradictions. At times you get polarization. You find two people who say they love one another, tearing each other apart to a level of divorce. And today we are here just to share with you the issue of social distancing happening in as many marriages.
Okay, so for the purpose of this whole presentation, I'm Dr. T.I. and he's Prof. T.D. So now, right now people are at home and they're worried. They are in a situation which they are not used to, finding themselves together this whole 21 days. And it's very frustrating sometimes. And then, Prof, I just want to find out, can you please try to outline what social distance means within the marriage context?
You see, at this point in time, the lockdown that has been pushed on us by government has introduced a term that was not as common in the public: social distancing.
That's true.
Social distancing has been used more often in the health sector. And in that sector, it includes, among others, isolation and quarantine.
Yeah.
When people want to stop a particular disease from spreading, then they will isolate you, they will quarantine you. And when you look at marriage, in the past, especially in the Bible, there are instances where you find social distancing being mentioned indirectly. I'll give you just two.
Okay.
In the Old Testament, when people will go to war, men were expected to do what we call social distancing from their marriages, their families. And they will not have been expected to come closer to their marriages, to their wives. And you also get in the New Testament where Paul says, if you agree for a time to say, let's do social distancing, maybe for prayer, maybe for fasting, then you could do it. But in this particular episode, we want to focus mainly on the issue of being pulled apart, understanding social distancing as something which is there, and it points out to the phenomenon which is common among so many married partners, where instead of growing closer, they grow apart from each other. Instead of growing older together, they end up creating a gap that in the end leads them to divorce.
So, Prof, are you saying that maybe through this few days or months or days which are going to come all about lockdown, are you saying that maybe it's going to show us those things which maybe we were not aware in our relationships?
If you look at the news and what the Minister of Police would have said, he said to date they have recorded 87,000 cases of gender-based violence during this time of the lockdown. And it means that so many people are not used to stay together, to spend more time together, and that's why they sort of are starting to show cracks and even showing signs of what we call social distancing in marriage.
So it means that this marriage lockdown corner came at the right time, just
Exactly.
to help our marriages.
Exactly. And that is why we are calling you as viewers to say, open up. Open up and start to have open conversations about this.
And Prof, I think maybe through this whole process, wherein we are all at home, we are experiencing some of the things which we might say is a new thing altogether. Some couples, they've never been together for the whole week. Some couples, they've never been together for the whole month. And then now, the cracks which you have mentioned are now clear. So just to take this further, are there any signs maybe which you can please assist us as to understand when we talk about social distance, we are talking about the signs, because it is possible that one might not be able to notice the cracks or the signs which might be happening in one's marriage.
Yes, when you talk about signs showing these cracks that point to social distancing in as many marriages, one, for instance, you will discover that people are talking less. They stop literally communicating with one another. And that is a sign. Others, you will discover that they grow cold as far as romance is concerned. They just stop touching, they stop hugging, they stop even kissing. And some, indeed, they start to fight over small things. And these are definite signs that shows that indeed so many married couples are growing apart from each other.
So when you just said this now, I just thought of something, that maybe the two of us, as they say, we were born BBT, born before technology. Today we are talking about maybe new generation wherein they are more focused on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on these other social networks. How do you think they are coping this time?
Exactly. And now, before I could answer that, I want viewers at home to do something. Kindly switch off this video clip. Switch it off and reflect on this issue. What are the signs in your marriage? Signs that you are seeing that are creating social distance. First, what you can do is to create that social distance between the two of you. Go to separate corners and start to write individually. And then come back and start sharing, and then we'll continue.
So this whole process is done so that you can see the cracks which are there, maybe which you were not aware before, that if you write them down and you sit down and you talk about these issues which are trying to lay down, trying to drag down your marriage, and then maybe it can assist.
Exactly. That's the exercise. And that's the whole exercise about this.
Okay.
And please, open up.
Just to take this discussion further down, what could be the drivers of all this social distancing which couples are experiencing?
There are a number of factors. And for the purpose of our discussion, I will just speak to 7 of those.
Oh, I see.
The first one is the personality driver. It speaks to our characters. Sometimes people are introverts, extroverts, and in the process, they kill the conversation. The second driver, and of course it's related to the personality one, it has to do with the communication, where people communicate less, or because of their personality, those who are introvert, they tend to withdraw from the conversation, whilst those who are extroverts, they tend to dominate and therefore end up killing the conversation in the process. The third one, and you have touched on this, it's around networking,
Yeah.
the networking factor. This one we can even spend more time and hours
Days.
discussing this matter. Because you see, there is television, there is one's parents or one's sisters, failure to cut the umbilical cord with your extended family. We also have the children factor, where you find people bonding too much with their children and forget their partners.
And then how about colleagues at work? Remember now, we are all expected to work from home. I wake up early in the morning, I sit in front of my laptop until 4 o'clock, because then emails will be flowing, WhatsApp groups will be flowing. Then how about those?
Those who fail to network at home and have good conversations with their partners at home, they normally use their colleagues, even friends, as sparring partners. They find comfort there and start to connect more to them and open more to them than to their partners. So these networks, they also include social media. People spending more time on Facebook, people spending more time on WhatsApp. Some will even go to bed holding their phones and busy texting, and it creates this social distancing in marriage.
Prof, remember right now, there are people who might be saying, I have friends whom, if it was not this lockdown, I would have been spending time with them. And then now, just for a catch up, we're trying to communicate with them through this network. How then can that be done within our marriages?
People have to use every moment they have with one another profitably. They need to use it to ensure that they build their own marriage and ensure that everything in their marriage works.
You have just mentioned the 3 factors which are also the main cause of this whole trouble which we face as couples. Can you just bring the remaining other factors which we can maybe try to look at right now?
The fourth factor is our business. We tend to have busy schedules to a level of forgetting the other or ignoring the other, paying less attention to one another, paying less attention to the needs of the other because of our business. And the fifth factor or driver is around wealth, what we call the money factor.
That one?
It's connected to the first one of being busy. To say most of the time we spend so many hours trying to get wealth. And whilst we have that wealth, we are driven apart by it because we also have the need to spend that wealth. And in some instances, you'll realize that people will now have the ability to buy 2 cars. And they spend more time driving apart. And in that way, it will drive a wedge between the two. Or you have more money and you are driven by the consumer drive, where you want to just spend and spend and spend. And the sixth factor or driver is sports and leisure. And more often, it's because people don't want to compromise. Say, for instance, your husband loves sports, loves chips,
I see.
and when chips is playing, you don't want to sit and watch with him or go to the stadium with him, even when you are not a fan of soccer. So that will surely drive you apart, because you will start to have friends that would share the same sport with that person.
Oh.
And the issue of leisure, where people don't have time to go out and relax and enjoy life together. And the last one is the issue of the kitchen.
Okay. Now about the kitchen.
You see, when we talk about the kitchen, it has two factors. On one hand, it speaks to real food. If you are not able to cook together, and if you are not able to fulfill each other's needs when it comes to food, more often you will be doing Uber Eats.
Oh, we're in trouble.
You will be eating fast food.
Yeah.
And let me talk about me as an African man. We love pap,
Home cooked meals.
home cooked meals, yes. And when we don't get that, it becomes a problem. And that is why you'll find some of us eating out under the trees, where you find people who have cooked pap and muhodu. And you find men and you're saying, what are these men doing?
Professor is there.
The professor is there. Not knowing that this is in us. And if you want to keep me at home, you have to do for me such things. And the second part of the kitchen is when you neglect your physical appearance, when you neglect the intimate part.
So we have to be always on point.
Always on point. And always changing your bedroom and all that you do therein.
I see.
So, stop and engage once again as a couple.
Yeah.
Discuss these factors. Look at your situation. Ask yourselves, self-critique. What are the factors that are driving you apart?
Yeah.
And in that way, you can grow together.
Okay, Prof. We have heard about the drivers which pulls us apart as couples. And then once our viewers at home are busy trying to write down the things which they think drives them apart, then what could be the solutions?
It's important that you work together, and that's the first thing, to identify areas that are tearing you apart.
Yeah.
That is critical. If you are to find solutions, find what is eating your marriage. Two, create space where you can honestly speak to one another, and create space where somebody can share their hurts, their frustrations, their feelings, without fear that they will be intimidated or be violated in the process. And then three, give each other quality time. Because in our business, we tend to forget that all of us have needs.
Yeah.
And we need to give each other quality time.
In addition to that, I think we need to also to understand each other's love language.
Yes.
Because many times we tend to say quality time, whereas my love language is not quality time. My love language is when you appreciate me or when you do something for me. So I think that can also be one thing which we need to know about ourselves.
And you see, that's where we started to say some have even stopped to be as romantic. Some have stopped to call each other sweetie, wifey, as I normally do.
And it's not about us, because we said for the purpose of this
Yes.
program,
Yes.
we are Prof and Dr. TI, but
Yes.
you still, you
Yes.
still have those things.
Yes.
You can continue.
And indeed, when you leave your home, kiss your wife and bid her goodbye. When you are at work, phone her to say, hey, how are you doing? Stay connected.
Or drop a message.
And drop a message. And in that way, you keep love rolling, the fire burning in the process. And of course, find time to go out and enjoy life. You can have as much money that you have, but if you can't have a moment where you sit together and reflect
Yeah.
and even relax and even spend the money together pampering each other. You see, in that way, then you will destroy your marriage if you don't do such things. So it's important.
Yeah.
Very important.
It is.
And never allow material stuff to divide you
Or to define you.
or to define you.
Yes.
Because sometimes we are destroyed by the material things that we have. Like the example that I've used of having 2 cars and we no longer have time to drive together.
Remember what we do sometimes. Coming back from work,
Yes?
park our cars in the garage, we pick one car, we just go out to buy bread.
Bread? Just
Yes.
bread?
Yeah, just bread.
And we enjoy just being the 2 of us without our children. Because sometimes children can also drive you apart,
Yeah.
where you pay more attention to them at the expense of
the
your own
marriage.
marriage.
Yeah.
And indeed, if you work together and work hard on it, you will surely be able to save your marriage.
How about cutting the umbilical cord, Prof? Because these days we also hear of black tax. We also hear of parents who want to remote control marriages. How about that one?
It's very critical because when you are married, you are independent. You become your own man, you become your own woman. You together define your destiny. And you should not allow anybody from outside this space to drive you or to be able to decide what your agenda should be moving to the future. So in a way, what I'm saying, if you want to win, just take a pair of scissors and cut. Whatever comes between the two you, just cut. And please, stop using your colleagues. Stop using your friends as your sparring partners. Don't use them as people where you can find your crying shoulder, because they will destroy your marriage.
Final words from us today.
Open up,
Engage,
listen,
enrich and be enriched.
and start narrowing down the gap.
And please do not forget to like, subscribe, share, and leave your comments or questions. Until next time,
Shalom.
Shalom.